Do you think then that, because part of the story is also making the front page today was where they said that the rot left by past administration is just too much to clear, and so that's why perhaps it will take them some time before they appoint ministers to hit the ground running. So it just appears as though the previous government just put them all in bad shape, and then they're finding that they need to settle down and clear this rot before they move on.
It's a bit fun, isn't it? You see, when you talk about government, you don't use such words as rot. I mean, for a start. That's why I said the implications of what we say in government are enormous. You don't say certain things. For a start, there are ways of measuring any government by international assessors. We have about 3 major international rating agencies: Moody, Standard & Poor's, Fitch. They look at your capacity to earn money, capacity to meet your obligations, and rate you. They give you credit rating. It is that credit rating that enables our private sector to go and borrow money abroad at reduced interest rate. The interest rate that private sector operators pay abroad is a function of the rating from these international agencies. If there was so much rot as you are implying, how come Nigeria continues to attract foreign investment? It is on record that Nigeria attracts more foreign investment than any other country in Africa. Now, if the country is in such a bad shape, how come these investors haven't run away? But when you keep saying, rot, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, you scare people away.
Does that mean they shouldn't say the truth of what they've seen?
What is the truth?
They say they've left the country in bad shape.
What does that mean? No, you don't use the... What does bad shape mean in economics? What does bad shape mean? Does it mean we are not earning money? Or does it mean we've missed our international repayment obligations? I want to know.
Maybe what you should do, is, can you evaluate the previous administration? You're a special advisor on performance and evaluation. So let's look at, what would you say the last administration did?
I've been talking since.
In specific terms, it's possible if you can do it.
Explaining how an economy is run. And I've been telling you what the government did. What other evaluation do you want? For me to say they got 100% or 90% or 60%, what exactly do you want me to say?
Let's look at, you talked about how the economy is run. Let's take the ports, for instance. You handled, for a while, you looked at how to decongest the ports across the country, especially at Apapa. Let's look at that. I mean, the papers, for instance, Banga said Nigeria loses about 50 trillion annually to untapped natural resources. Now, another paper talked about Nigeria losing about 1.85 trillion to the Goodluck in the Apapa area. Tell us, how would you say the government fared in clearing up Apapa, making it easier to bring in goods in that access?
Well, first of all, let me say that there are certain things that are difficult to understand. One of those is the issue of Apapa gridlock. When we started the work on the ports reform, there were challenges inside the port as a result of the lack of infrastructure and so on and so forth. The federal government decided to build trailer parks and encourage private sector people to provide trailer parks for trailer owners to go in as and when they are called. I don't understand for 1 second why a trailer should park on the road for 1 week. What is a trailer doing on the road for 1 week when you have no business being on that road? Why would a trailer owner not go to a park and be called upon to load when he is ready to be loaded? I don't understand that. We have petroleum tankers lifting crude from that axis also. They park on the road for weeks. You recall that we undertook an exercise with the former governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Governor Fashola, it cost Lagos State 97 million naira to move the trucks in 1 week. 97 million naira. That is not sustainable. And the moment you do that, the tanker drivers say we are going on strike. And you know the consequences of that. So the whole indiscipline, defies logic. Now everybody says government, the cost of policing that gridlock is unsustainable. You won't tell me that Governor Fashola wasn't an action governor, or he didn't try. He tried. So as long as people need to understand that government needs to take some difficult decisions and bear with government, we won't solve this problem. Why would tanker drivers threaten to go on strike because you ask them to get out of the road? But if they go on strike, there will be no petrol in maybe Delta or Kaduna or somewhere, and then it will be worse for government. It will be worse for government. So these are all serious challenges.
We're talking about tanker drivers on the road. We're talking about port reforms. Is that part of the port reforms?
It was all part of. We feel we reform inside. There are two sides. Inside reform, 24 hours opening, 48 hours goods clearing, and the concessioning of the ports, the reconstruction of the internal roads, the provision of cargo handling infrastructure inside the ports. That's one side. The other side is the exterior, offside. That includes the road from Oshodi to Apapa, for which federal government has done maybe 80% of the work on the road reconstruction. I'm sure you are aware. The type of road that is being done is concrete pavement, about 1 foot of concrete, so that it will last longer instead of reconstruction all the time. All that was done, but it has not helped because of the indiscipline of the truck and tanker users on the road.
You know, I'm trying to look at the states. It's a critical moment we are now, and I'm sure when you pick up the papers and you go through the news, what comes to mind shouldn't be something that is soothing to you to know that so many states have not been paid. And you know, it would also amount to looking towards how the federal government and the states have been, well, managing resources. So we still have to look at the excess crude account, and we also have to look at how well the states have taken from the federal government. Away from the federal government, because Chimolo was trying to ask you a question which we still haven't actually gotten an answer from you. He's saying the states, perhaps maybe they didn't manage theirs, but what about the federal government when they took their own share out of this?
56%.
56%.
It's gone up to 56%?
Well, wasn't it 56?
How much was it? Well, I thought it was 52.8%.
52.8.
Okay. Okay. So
I thought they said 56.
All right. Okay. Over 50%. What did the federal government do with it? Because we're trying to see what this government is saying. If they say they met an empty treasury, and the last, shared money, what went down with it? They didn't say if they met any money. And if you were to explain anything to the Nigerian people based on your, standing with the government before you left office, because I realized at the tail end of that you left for your own political career, what would you be saying?
Well, first of all, what does federal government do with their money? Federal government, in my opinion, may have taken on either constitutionally or otherwise more responsibilities that they ought to. For example, I don't see any reason why federal government should go to states to build primary school, build secondary school, build hospitals, and so on and so forth in all the states. I don't see any reason why. I thought states should take some more responsibilities. Even if you are to adjust the revenue sharing formula, let the Constitution take care of that. But federal government's responsibility should end somewhere on areas that are common, like policing, security, foreign affairs, and maybe strategic infrastructure. But for federal government to be involved in spoon feeding of states, I think we need to revisit that. For in the Constitution, there are roads spanning across the countries that you say these are federal government roads. Then you have little arterial roads, they say these are state roads. I mean, these federal roads are in the states.
And you
They're not hanging. The federal roads are not hanging up there.
We'll come to that particular point when we return, because they also spoke about these roads, the state governments themselves. So just give us a minute. We'll be back.